Hello and welcome to another edition of the Net Report podcast. Today we're just going to do a quick recap and roundup of where we're at so far in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Thus far, of the eight first round matchups that we have, only one has actually concluded, but we have a couple more that seem to be concluding here shortly. We're going to just kind of start it off real quick by touching on the one that has concluded, and the Suns got swept in the first round in
Yeah,
4 games by the Timberwolves, and it was never particularly close.
yeah, this one was a little bit of a shocker. And before I go in on the Suns, because trust me, we'll be going in on the Suns, I do want to give the Timberwolves their credit first because wow, they had one hell of a series. Anthony Edwards was incredible, especially in the latter half of that series. Game 4 in particular, he's amazing. Jaden McDaniels just an absolute dog throughout the series. Even Carl Towns finally getting rid of that stigma of him underperforming in the playoffs. He had a great series, something no one's really talking about. Timberwolves are great, man, but wow, this Suns team so disappointing, and a lot of it goes back to things we already knew, things we were expecting going into the series and going into this year. The lack of depth, lack of playmaking reared its ugly head in this playoff run. It was quite disappointing to see. I mean, when the big three weren't scoring, this Suns offense was terrible, and this whole series, like against a great Minnesota defense, they were not able to score the ball particularly well. It wasn't really until game 4 where Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were both on, but they had no help outside of that. Bradley Beal was abysmal in that game, couldn't really score at all until the fourth quarter, and by then it was kind of not out of reach, but it's like it just wasn't enough. And you're relying on guys like Royce O'Neal, Eric Gordon. It was just never going to happen. I mean, even Yusuf Nurkic was not even getting playing time because he just couldn't stay on the court in a playoff series. It's a very disappointing way to end the season for them. And honestly, given the makeup of this roster, the amount of money being spent on it, this is probably one of, if not the most disappointing seasons we've seen in a long time.
I agree, and everything you said, 100% agree. I'm going to flip it. Give Timberwolves their flowers. This is the first time the Timberwolves as a franchise have won a playoff series since the year KG took that team to the conference finals in the West. Just incredible for this franchise. I'm so happy for all Minnesota fans and everything. Like, this is awesome. I'm just really happy to see a team like this kind of get over that hump and hurdle. Sweeping this team in the first round, they're gonna, we'll talk about in a minute, but they're more than likely going to face the Nuggets in the second round. With that, the Nuggets are not a guaranteed win in that.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
we say it in football all the time, defense wins games. Defense is going to win series for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their defense is just insanely good as far as execution, and we're going to see it get put to the test against the Denver team, and I am on cloud nine waiting for that series. And with that, we will lead into Lakers Nuggets. Lakers are down 1-3. They were down 3-0 before that, and the reality is that they are more than likely to get put away tonight and be eliminated by the Denver Nuggets. They have not looked particularly good. D'Lo in particular, and everyone else on this team outside of Anthony Davis has looked pretty bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They look terrible. I don't really have anything good to say about the Lakers besides Anthony Davis looks really good. When you play a team like the Nuggets, you'll say it as well, Chris. You can't make a single mistake
Nope,
because
none at all.
the moment you even let your foot off the gas, you get complacent, the Nuggets are going to feast on you. And that's what happens every single game with the Lakers. They look great in the first half. And then whatever happens, whatever Darvin Ham tells in the second half, whether it's Ippy Kaye or go get him, champ, like it's just not working. And they come out in the second half and just they look complacent. They aren't running good offense. They're sticking away from Anthony Davis. I can't comprehend it, but they're gonna lose. And it's
Mhm.
gonna be Nuggets and Timberwolves, and that's all I've got to say on it.
Yeah, it really feels like whenever the Lakers have anything like positive going, like game 2, perfect example. They were running the heck out of the Anthony Davis, LeBron James 2-man game. It was working really well, went away from it in the second half. Why? Especially when they were struggling. I know AD had some foul trouble in that game, especially towards the end of the third quarter, but it really was inexcusable to lose that game, and a lot of it was due to that reason. It was due to a lot of other reasons as well. But just throughout this whole series, it's been a lot of like questionable coaching, and we've seen all year like basically Darvin
He's
Ham won't
gone.
be on this
He's
team
gone.
next year. It's
He's
pretty
gone.
obvious.
100% he's gone.
And this playoff series kind of just has brought that to light even more. And against the Nuggets team, you can't, like you said, you can't make any mistakes. This is like they're a well-oiled machine. Like 1 through 5, like in that starting lineup, there is no weakness. There's not a single weakness. It's like honestly one of the best constructed rosters I've seen like ever. Like, and we're
Ever.
not talking like super teams. We're not. They're just a
They're not
well
even the most
constructed.
talented, just from a
Mm-hmm,
roster construction standpoint. They
mm-hmm.
cover every base you really want them to. It's insane. Watching this Lakers
Or
team,
8.
it's like you're watching them look for ways to mess up. Like they play great, and you're like, feels like they want to mess up here. Guess what they do? Turn the ball over, take
Mm-hmm.
silly shots, just run inefficient offense. So they don't really defend well. Like the Nuggets will kind of give them, they'll give them ways back into the game, and the Lakers are like, nah.
Yeah, it's if I'm a Lakers fan, I'm losing my mind. I can only imagine what Tariq's been going through. Yeah, I mean, I had this man calling me in the middle of the night, just letting it loose, man, on the Lakers. So I know Lakers fans are going through it, but that's
They'll be okay.
unfortunately the way it goes.
Thunder Pelicans.
Cool.
OKC is absolutely going to kill the Pelicans. Whether they win in 4 or 5, Pelicans just look absolutely abysmal. Brendan Ingram is currently a ghost. Not a particularly good ghost either. He's not Casper.
Sam
He's
Darnold
more
esque.
like Boo from Mario. Yes, Sam Darnold-esque. Correct. No Zion. You might as well just pencil in no Brendan Ingram. There's just no answer for this Thunder team, which is rolling. Whether they win in 4 or 5, like I said, it doesn't really matter. They're going to advance. They've pretty much dominated this series. Game one was fun and close, but at the end of the day, Thunder won that and have rolled in the previous two games of that. I don't really have much to say on this particular one either because it really hasn't been a very competitive series, and we're gonna kind of see that trend through a lot of these series we're gonna get into.
Yeah, I mean it's a 1-8 matchup. I mean this is what was expected, especially now that Zion was basically out the entire series. He was out the entire series, so I don't think we ever expected anything more, but you always hope they get a game or something. It's not even look like you're gonna get that.
No, and that's really all I have to say on that one. Thunder are going on, and good for the Thunder. We're seeing all these young teams kind of elevate themselves and get past that first hump. Like I didn't really think we would, and we're going to talk about a couple more of those young teams here coming up. In a series that I was hoping would be a little bit more competitive, 76ers and Knicks. Knicks currently hold a pretty commanding 3-1 lead over this 76ers team, and I'm going to be honest, it comes down to two specific things with this particular one. Embiid at times is either looked gassed or not 100% healthy, and they have gotten zero help outside of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid.
Hmm.
Zero. None.
Yeah, the
I
role
was
players
we talked
abysmal.
about it when we had the trade deadline videos. I was high and irritated as a Celtics fan that the 76ers managed to get Buddy Hield. But if you told me that Buddy Hield was not an actual player, didn't exist, I would assume you're right because he's sure not doing anything or
He's been a
out there.
ghost.
He also might be a Sam Darnold ghost. Kelly Oubre is doing what he can, but come on, like,
Tobias as
and it's
well,
like,
man. With that contract,
don't
it's
get me
just
started. He's gone.
inexcusable.
They're not bringing that bum back. And it's not even like the Knicks are fully healthy either. Last game, no Mitchell Robinson to grab all those boards. Bojan gets knocked out within 3 minutes of playing.
Hmm. They ran Precious towards the end of that game, which was insane. Like it
The
was
entire
working.
fourth quarter,
Hmm.
Precious Achua was the starting center for that team because Isaiah Hartenstein was in foul trouble.
Mm. And
They
then
had OG Anunoby guarding Embiid the entire fourth quarter, and he scored 0 field goals.
1 point, and that was a free throw. And the crazy part is they got out rebounded. I mean, with Precious Achua and Josh Hart's an amazing rebounder for like a forward, but my goodness, they couldn't grab one offensive rebound that entire, like it felt like that entire fourth quarter was just 76ers could not grab a rebound, and that was ultimately the game. And it's been small things like that, and that's the reason this series is 3-1. Yes, it's been competitive. Every game's kind of been pretty much down to the wire, if not like, within a few points, but it's just the better team. The Knicks have been the better team executing at the end, and that's why they're up 3-1 right now.
It's very disappointing to see a team like this led by Nick Nurse just kind of lose the fundamental battle.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we would see a better marriage, and maybe we do see it next season where we can actually have a roster like he can kind of help construct because they're going to blow it up. They've lined it up to blow it up. It's going to be Maxine and Embiid and whatever else they put around him, like top to bottom reset. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's just I don't see the 76ers coming back from this one. Knicks are more than likely going to move on, and I mean that's awesome for the Knicks. It's scary for the Celtics because I think this Knicks team is a very scary dark horse. But yeah, this has been very unsatisfying to say the least from someone who is supposedly the league's top scoring center, and at times he just looks like he's just not out there.
Yeah,
But
definitely
we move on to
disappointing.
another one of the young teams I was referring to earlier, and this series is the one where I'll say it feels the least real. But Indiana has a 3-1 lead over the Bucks, and
It's not fair, man. The injuries have killed this team, and it's like you keep getting Woj notification after Woj notification. Like, obviously, Giannis didn't start the series, and then now you're dealing with the Dame being out however many
game
games, and
four,
even the
he got
last
hurt in game
game.
three. It didn't look great, and then game four, he was not there at all.
Mhm,
And then Bobby Portis got ejected like minutes into the game, and then Chris Middleton got hurt in the third quarter. He still played, but he didn't look great.
mhm.
It's just like, and they
Everyone.
still kept it competitive. They kept that game competitive with the Pacers all the way down to the wire. But of course, no one. It's obvious why you're down 3-1.
Yeah,
Like this team isn't built to function without their two stars.
and a lot of people are talking about. I mean, this kind of feels like a scenario where the Bucks lose in the first round again, and it's kind of like, okay, well, we were injured, we'll run it back. Very similar to last. Well, I guess not similar to last year because they brought Dame along, but that was more to get Giannis to stay on board. But I, I don't see a reason for them to freak out. I mean, as much as injuries suck, they didn't really get a chance to prove themselves. There's so much stuff that happened in the regular season where like it didn't look good, but it's just disappointing, man. I never like to see team seasons end specifically because of injuries, but if we're being honest, that's what it has been this series. I mean, shout out to the Pacers though. Pascal Siakam has been a beast. So has Miles Turner.
Monster.
Mm-hmm. Pascal absolutely abusing Bobby Portis the first few games, and Miles Turner, like I said, been very underrated.
But from a future outlook perspective, I would agree that I don't see the Bucks blowing it up, but there is reason to be concerned. Game's only getting older, and he regressed pretty decently this year, I would say. And your window is kind of closing. You're Milwaukee. You're not a big market team. You can't pay the tops like these other big market teams can. How long? Like Chris Middleton, he's kind of a shell of what he used to be. The window for this team is closing. I'll always say that a team with Giannis has an can win any season. I'll say that. There's very few players where I'll say you throw that player on a team and give him a bunch of guys, he's got a chance. Giannis is one of those guys.
Most
But
definitely.
this incarnation has a very limited window, and I think it kind of exceeds after next season. I think if we see them not win again next season, we might see some disruption. But
I'd give it a 1 to 2 year window. You got a lot of older guys like Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, who maybe got 1 to 2 really good years left.
speaking of Chris's silly magic, absolutely romple stomped the Cavs in games 3 and 4 after going down 2-0 in the series. They did what you're supposed to do when the series goes back home. They won games 3 and 4 at home, and now it's a best of three series where they have to win at least one game on the road. And oh god, I really don't know where this goes. I'm so excited I'm going to be so excited if the Magic win this just for you and Magic fans. But wow,
Yeah, the series
if the
just
Cavs lose
complete
to the
180.
Magic in the first round, there's never been a more surefire way of saying Mitchell is gone.
Mm. And I mean, it's really gonna be dependent on Game 5. If the Cavaliers do not come out and like respond And I don't want to say take this game commandingly, but they better win game 5, because if they come in and lose game 5, lose 3 straight to this Magic game, they come back home in game 6, it can be just over in
The
6
Magic
just
are
like that.
rolling. The Magic are rolling defensively.
Hmm.
They've rolled defensively this entire
They've
series.
held
The
them
problem in
under.
game 1 and 2 is if they couldn't score in game 1 or 2. They
Hmm.
scored better in game 3 and 4, and were also better defensively in game 3 and 4, which is what you expect when you play at home. But I
Hmm.
expect the Magic to maintain their momentum and just smother this Cavs team because they just look like they're playing without an identity. They look lost. Like I don't know how to really say it outside. They don't look functional.
Yeah, and like you said, to the Magic's defense, they've held them to under 100 points every single game this series. And once you get the baskets going, I mean, with like they did in games 3 and 4, this team can compete with anyone. And Cleveland's been very disappointing, and game 5 is going to be very telling on how this series goes, because oh man, it's this series feels like a complete 180. The Magic have the momentum right now. It's really going to be up to the Cavs to respond.
Yeah, and there's a lot that weighs on this series. Like I don't want to say it like the Cavs have so much pressure on them to win this series just to maybe convince Donovan Mitchell. That's what's at play here. Like that's genuinely what's at play here. You lose to a Magic team in the first round with Donovan Mitchell on your team. Yeah,
It can get
that's gonna be
ugly.
the story of the summer.
And they've already had Cavs fans have already had fire JB trending on Twitter, and who knows what other changes can be coming, especially if they truly get upset by this Magic team. I mean, shout out Franz, he was incredible in Game 4, and everyone's kind of turned it on since then. So I mean, Paulo incredible in Game 3. I don't know where this series is going, but man, I hope the Magic can continue this, because wow, I've been very impressed and very surprised.
You know what I'm impressed and surprised about, Chris?
What, sir?
That we have seen Kawhi Leonard play 2 playoff games this series. I'm very excited that we actually saw him play 2 games, and they lost both of them.
Yeah, it's been very weird. It's been very if Bill Simmons would say Ewing theory-esque, but this has been a weird series because of that, honestly. I mean, they've been without Leonard 2 games, they've lost those 2 games. This series weirdly
But
has
it's
been a
tied
defensive
2-2.
battle too, which is not something I expected going into the series. But
I mean, last game was Paul George versus Kyrie Irving, and it was so fun to
mhm,
see. Um, Zubac has low key been incredible as
incredible,
well.
super underrated.
I want to say he's averaging over 15 points for that team right now, and that's just absolutely insane.
He just
Um,
always feels like he's in the right spot for dump offs, and it's
Agreed.
great to see.
Again, now this series is tied 2-2. It's a best of 3 series. Kawhi's status is literally always a game time decision. And at this point, realistically, it matters in the sense that yeah, him playing makes it a better team. I don't know what it is. It's like a mental thing. It's like if the 76ers get on their own hand, it's like, oh yeah, well Kawhi's not playing, so we have to play differently now. Instead of just, oh, Kawhi's playing, we can rely on him for X, Y, and Z. I don't really know what it is, but they just look better when Kawhi is not there. Like I'm not even like I'm not joking with you. Like they just look better from a team aspect right now, and it's clear that Kawhi isn't 100% even when he has been
No,
playing.
not at all.
So we'll see. This obviously I highlighted it when we highlighted all these series. This was going to be the one series that I almost guaranteed went to 7, and I still believe that it's going to go to a game 7. I don't think home court's going to matter. I just think the reality is whichever superstar goes off in game 7 is going to win the series. Like it could be a Kyrie game. It could be a Luka game. It could be a PG game. It would be funny if it was a Kawhi game that won this series, but it's gonna go 7. I'd almost guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely one of the more insane series so far. One of the only series, like you said, that's them and the Magic series tied 2-2. And I'd be shocked, like you said, if it doesn't go 7. We'll see,
I'll
man.
be disappointed if it doesn't go 7.
Definitely
I like it.
disappointed.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I'm expecting some Luca magic if it gets to game 7, but who really knows?
Speaking of Magic, Derek White scored 38 points in a game 4 to have the Celtics acquire a 3-1 lead over the Heat.
Yeah, I
Kristaps
mean,
Porzingis is injured though, so I want to cry. Hopefully, you don't need to play Porzingis at all game 5. Rest him.
Against a Jimmy Butler-less Heat, no, not at all. Boston just has to
Let's
handle
say
their
against the
business,
Magic.
get done in 5, rest up, and luckily for them, they're gonna not probably. Luckily for them, they're gonna be facing either the Cavs or the Orlando Magic, which I'll be honest, I still take them to win that series, whether it's with Kristaps, without Kristaps. So
I mean, you don't need him again in a series against the Magic. You'll need him in a series against the Cavs, or that's the one where you'll feel his loss the most. I'll say.
I mean, I feel like you feel it in both series, but I'd still project them to win both series.
So here's the bigger question, Chris. When
Yes.
we inevitably play through in the playoffs, Magic and Celtics, are we going to a game?
Oh man, those tickets are gonna be so expensive, but I
Overall, do you
mean,
really think they'll be that expensive? The Heat
this
tickets were only like $50 today.
the season opener for Orlando and Boston this year was like $200 a pop. So
Okay, but if you guys go down 2-0,
Mm, I still think so because you got to remember, there's so many Boston fans in Florida. Like Florida has like so many New York fans, so many Philly fans, so many Boston fans. Like that whole region, there's so many fans in this
okay, so
area. Like the ticket prices
I'm just saying,
skyrocket when those
do
teams
you
are in
go to a
town.
game 4 if you're down 3-0?
No, because why would I want to go? You're gonna just torture me. You're gonna torture me.
Do you go to a game 5 if it's 4-0?
What?
Got him.
Okay. Yeah, if
Anyways,
they give us a game 5 after we're down 4-0, sure I'll go. If they give us an extra
imagine.
game.
As a Celtics fan right now, the only thing I'll say is I am praying to Jesus and God that somebody manages to eliminate the Nuggets. I just the way I've seen both the Celtics and Nuggets play in the playoffs, you can't convince me we can beat them. You just couldn't convince me.
Hey man, to be the best, you gotta beat the best. But I will say this: Denver looks like head and shoulders above everyone else right now. Time will
It's not
tell.
even
I'm
close.
really excited, like you said, for that Timberwolves series. I think if anyone's gonna give them a run for their money, it's probably the Timberwolves. But I
I
still
would
don't see an
agree.
answer for Jokic, and I can see them kind of really exploiting Rudy Gobert. But that's why we play the series. We'll see. I mean, that's gonna be a very fun series preview once
I
it gets
think
set
that'll
in
be
stone.
that series will be closer, I think, than if the Nuggets do win and whoever they play, whether it's Clippers, Mavericks, or Thunder. I think that second round series against the Timberwolves will be the hardest test.
I
I
truly
really do
believe
think
so
that,
too. I don't even think that's that
just from a
asinine to
defensive
say.
standpoint, from what I've seen, I think that'll be their biggest test.
The one thing I will say too is Denver just has so many weapons. Like, regardless how great Minnesota's defense is, I feel like it's gonna be hard for them to really. Because okay, you got Jamal Murray neutralized to an extent. Okay, KCP hit a couple open threes. Oh, Michael Porter Jr.'s going off now. He's hit three threes in a row. Oh, Jokic is getting doubled in the post. Okay, we'll just find a cutting Aaron Gordon. Like there's no answer. So at
But we
least
were
like
going to
against
say
the
Aaron
Suns,
Gordon
we
open for
saw.
three.
Okay, you got Devin Booker clamped up. You're forcing Durant to kind of ISO. He's not getting great looks. Okay, well now you're leaving. Whether it's Royce O'Neal open. He's not gonna make. I mean, he made them pay a little bit from 3, but he's not gonna put the game on his shoulders. Eric Gordon not gonna put the game on his shoulders. Yusuf Nurkic they exploited the heck out of. So I just don't see it. Like I don't see them
Bro,
being able to
the
do that
fall
against
off from
Denver.
being like, hey, my 3 and 4 shooters are KCP and MPJ from and going to Eric Gordon and Royce O'Neal. God,
There you go. There you go.
that hurts my head. That roster construction is so bad on the Sun. God. Well, anyways, everyone, please like, subscribe, follow. I don't care what you do. Please show us support. Everything we've seen in the past week and a half, especially, has been awesome. Please continue to tell your mom, friend, dog, aunt, uncle, best friend, people you hate. Tell them about us. We love all the support. But yeah, please like, subscribe. My name is Jacob. I am the long lost son of NBA All Star superstar James Young, and this is my co host and unfortunate Magic fan.
My name is Chris. Thank you for tuning in as always. Comment what you've thought so far about the first round in the comments below. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great one.